Akoko was still very young when marriage found her. Her face still carried the softness of a girl who had not yet argued much with life. Her hands were small, but her heart was large. When she married Chukwudi, people whispered that she was too young, that she should wait, that marriage would be hard. But Akoko believed love could soften hardship. Chukwudi was not rich. He had no inheritance waiting for him, no business to hand over, no connections in the city. What he had were dreams, big dreams, and Akoko believed in them more than she believed in comfort. They married with nothing. No bed of their own. No wardrobe. No savings. Just 2 plastic chairs, a thin mattress on the floor, and prayers whispered every morning and night. Their room was small, barely enough for 2 adults, but hope lived there. When rain fell, water crept through the walls. When night came, hunger sometimes slept beside them. There were days they shared one meal. There were nights they slept without food, holding each other and pretending sleep would fill their stomachs. Akoko never complained. When Chukwudi tried one business and failed, she encouraged him. When he tried another and lost money, she sold her wrapper. When he felt ashamed to face people, she reminded him that tomorrow had not yet spoken. She walked with him, literally. She trekked long distances with swollen feet, carrying goods on her head, returning home exhausted, yet still smiling. Children came quickly. One child. Then another. Then another. Then another. 4 children born into struggle. Hospital bills piled up. School fees became enemies. Landlords knocked without mercy. There were days Akoko wore the same dress for weeks, washing it at night and drying it before morning. There were times she put her children to sleep early, not because it was bedtime, but because there was no food to give them. Through it all, she kept saying one thing. God will not shame us. And slowly, life changed. Chukwudi discovered preaching. The same mouth that once begged now commanded attention. People listened. They followed. The church grew. Testimonies flowed. Offerings increased. The man who once borrowed money became Daddy G.O. Respect followed him like a shadow. People bowed. People feared. People praised. And beside him stood Akoko, now called Mommy G.O. She wore better clothes now, but her eyes still remembered hunger. She smiled at members, but her heart remembered suffering. She believed they had arrived together. She believed the storm was finally over. But power has a way of testing the hidden parts of the heart. That was when Ngozi, the choir mistress, entered the story. Young. Gentle. Always available. Her voice was sweet, and her admiration for Daddy G.O was obvious. Late rehearsals became normal. Private counseling became frequent. Phone calls became secretive. Akoko noticed the distance. The silence in bed. The absence in his eyes. Still, she trusted. After all, this was the man she starved with. This was the man she walked barefoot with. Until the truth arrived without warning. Ngozi was pregnant. The child belonged to Daddy G.O. Akoko did not scream. She did not faint. Something inside her simply broke, quietly. She waited for repentance. She prayed for restoration. She believed the altar would correct the man. But one Sunday morning, before the congregation, before elders and members, Daddy G.O stood boldly and announced that God had led him in a new direction. He said he no longer wanted his wife. The woman who suffered with him. The woman who gave him 4 children. He said he wanted to marry the choir mistress. The church gasped. Akoko sat frozen. In one moment, she lost her husband. In one moment, she lost her identity. In one moment, her sacrifices were declared meaningless. She stood up calmly, gathered her children, and walked out. As she stepped into the sun that day, Akoko learned that suffering with someone does not guarantee loyalty. Some people endure hardship with you only because they are waiting for success. She learned that power does not change people, it reveals them. What poverty hid, influence exposed. Days turned into months. From a distance, Akoko watched respect fade from the altar she once served. She rebuilt her life quietly. She focused on her children, her healing, her peace. She learned that sacrifice without wisdom can destroy silently, and that love without boundaries becomes a prison. She also learned something deeper: God was never in the betrayal. God was in her survival. Titles did not impress heaven. Being called Daddy G.O did not make a man godly. Character did. Years later, Akoko stood stronger. Not louder. Not bitter. Just whole. She understood that not everyone who climbs with you deserves to sit with you at the top. Some people are only meant to journey with you, not to finish with you. She lost a husband. But she kept her dignity. She lost a marriage. But she saved her soul. And that is the story of Akoko.